Hey people, if you are subscribed to this channel, you know that I like to be creative, I like to think outside the box and incorporate different things, different ideas and approaches into the world of learning music and drumming. And today I want to show you a few interesting gadgets. Some of them are not from the world of drumming or even from the world of music, but those help me be a better drummer, perform better, play better. But I am afraid, unfortunately, 3 of the items on today's list are not vegan. So let's start right away with an easy one. An old credit card. This is so important if you are gigging, if you are playing live, because this is the perfect patch if you will hit a hole in your bass drum head. This happens just very rarely, very rarely. So usually you don't have a spare bass drum head, but everything you need is an old credit card and some tape. And this is the perfect band-aid for your bass drum head. Actually, this has happened to me. I used my backstage pass as a patch and taped over it, and it worked so well. I played the show after that even with a hole in the head and just this as a patch on it. So it's a very good first aid help. Next are the Gibraltar Lug-Locks. Just these small plastic bits you place over your tuning rods, over the lugs, and they help them stay in place. This is a very simple idea, but it's very handy, very practical, very easy to use, and it works pretty well in the studio. So if you have the perfect tuning for a louder song and you want to keep the tuning in place, usually I place them over all of the rods, all of the lugs facing me on the snare drum. So just on the point of highest impact where I play my rim shots, this is where I place them, and they help a lot keeping the tuning. It's not a perfect solution, but they work very well for the price. Actually, for just a little bit of plastic, they are a bit expensive, I find, but you can actually reuse them a few times before they wear out. And it's just a very good help because otherwise you might lose a perfectly good take in the studio, because usually the snare drum but also the toms detune over the course of a song, and the Gibraltar Lug-Locks can prevent that. Next up, a secret weapon I have not seen any other drummers use, so this is the first time I want to share this with you, and it's beeswax hand cream or hand lotion. And the benefit is, because it's beeswax, it's non-greasy, non-oily. This is sticky because of the beeswax. So if you tend to lose the sticks because you are a hard hitter or you don't have a high grip strength, but you don't want to use gloves, use this instead. It's the next best thing. It helps you grip the sticks. If you play harder music, I like to use this when I play rock or metal music. It also protects my skin a little bit. It is sticky and I don't have to use gloves, so I have the benefit of all the feeling in my hand. I'm feeling the stick, but it stays in my hand because of this. Next up, this specific tuning key made by Pearl drums. It has a low center of gravity and those 2 weights on either side. And the benefit of this one is, if you hit it in the right place and you loosen one of the rods already a little bit, usually with one push you can loosen or tighten one of the tuning rods all the way. So you can really speed up your head changing and tuning process with this key. There are different ones who have the same benefit, but this I find is actually the best one. Next up, something you will always find in my stick bag, right next to the usual mallets and brushes and rods and actual real Chinese chopsticks. Those are not toilet brushes. Well, I've actually played with toilet brushes on occasion before, but that was just for show. No, this actually has a purpose. It was recommended to me by a jazz drummer. Those are bottle brushes made from real natural hair. So I'm afraid those are actually not vegan, that's animal hair. And the great thing about this, the drummer I talked to, he was using them just as usual brushes on the snare drum. He just liked the sound and the feel of it. I don't like to use them for that, but they have a very interesting sound. You can play very, very soft on the cymbals and on the toms. But the harder you hit, the more the brushes get flattened and the more you hear the impact of the wood underneath. So you have actually a very, very fluent increase from very soft to very hard. So just the brushes, the tips of the brushes at the beginning, then a little bit more of the wood, and then the whole impact of the mass of the wood and the whole surface area of everything hitting the drum or the cymbal. Those can have a very, very interesting effect. Next up, the booty shakers made by T&R Products. You just stick the feet of the legs of the floor tom in there, and this, because of the foam, is supposed to disconnect it a little bit from the ground, so you have not too much dampening, because usually the rack toms are very freely they are mounted very freely, but the floor tom actually stands on the floor, so the sustain is cut because it's grounded. And those counteract the grounding of the floor tom, and actually I find they actually do. It gives the floor tom more sustain at more low end, so that's definitely a benefit. But also I like to sit very high, and I like to have everything on my drum kit also very high. But usually the legs of the floor toms, the standard legs, are not long enough for my purposes, so this raises the floor tom to a level I can work with. Also, you see that this is actually marked with colored tape, because I have taken those on tour, and I like to set up the drum kit every night exactly the same, with the same band at least. And yes, our live engineer actually told me that the booty shakers by T&R Products make a remarkable difference on the sound in a positive manner. And last up, the drumming shoes made by Vratim. And those are actually made from leather, so also not vegan, I'm afraid, but the benefit is, of course, that they take the shape of your foot. They are very gentle to your foot, so to say, and they're very, very light, very flexible. They don't mimic the feeling of playing barefoot. Some drumming shoes claim that they try to do that. I don't want to play barefoot, and I don't want to feel like I would be playing barefoot. I want a shoe that works with me and works for me, and the Vratim shoes actually do that. They're very comfortable. I have worn them, actually this specific pair, for days on end in the studio. And actually I've modified one of those pairs. One of those pairs has a leather sole, so I gave them to a shoemaker and they changed the sole to this leather sole, because I don't just switch to different sticks when I play different music. Actually, I also switch to a different pedal and different shoes, because for some music I want to use more sophisticated technique, like slide technique or pumping motion, different foot technique, and then I need I don't want the grip on the pedal. I need a shoe that moves on the pedal, and this is why one of my Vratim pairs has a leather sole. And there are three main benefits to having drumming shoes. You don't need to buy those, even though I can actually absolutely recommend them, but you need specific shoes for drumming for three reasons. The first one is a mental, psychological one. when I put on these shoes, my mind is focused on drumming and making music. So it's a mental shift. The second one is that you want to keep your pedals clean and dry. Many of us don't have our drum sets at home, but we have to, well, travel to our rehearsal space or studio, whatever. And usually we don't take off our shoes there, but this is home space and this has to be clean because actually the pedals don't want to be wet and they want to stay clean in order to work properly. So I am very, very deliberate with this and try to keep this as clean as possible. And so I actually take these off when I go out, and those are like my indoor shoes and they keep the pedals clean. And the last reason is, of course, that you want shoes that feel good when playing. You want shoes that you can play well in. For most people, that would mean running shoes or just light sportive shoes. And I just settled on these and they check all the boxes for me. And this is why those are among my top drumming gadgets. I hope this was interesting to you. Please, please, please write in the comments what are your unusual creative gadgets that help you on the drum set. Hope to hear from you. Hope to see you in the next video. Every Thursday there's a new video about drumming, personal growth through learning an instrument, efficient practicing, motivation, and so on. So hope to see you there. Until then, take care and bye-bye.